headlights and put it in neutral. Stock car flaming with a loser and the cruise control. Babies in Reno with the vitamin D. Got a couple of couches. Sleep on the love seat. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, where we're coming at you with all of the wisdom, determination, and disruption of a Trump cabinet. How's it going?
Wow, they get better every time, Jay.
I'm focused. I am on fire. I'm looking forward to these next 2 years. Good. I don't know what your opening's about, but you know what? There's been some internet rumors floating around that Gwen Walls is not happy being out of the limelight and is looking forward to having her husband run again and possibly even as a president in the 2028 race.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
I'm not afraid of Tampon Tim.
I am not
and
either.
Trust me, my opening was not about Gwen Walls.
I'm like, please run. Please run.
Well, here's the weird part.
You mean other than Tim Walz?
Well, yeah, other than wanting tampons in the men's bathroom. Here's a question for you. Has there ever been a losing vice presidential candidate that has ever made a serious run in recent memory as president?
I can't think of one.
FDR's the only one I could think of in 1920.
Yeah.
Of course, a lifetime of change would happen between 1920 and 1932. But, I mean, I'm trying to think of... I don't even remember who were vice presidential.
Right.
You had Jack Kemp. You had John Edwards. I guess Edwards tried.
Yeah.
He didn't get anywhere. You had Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
I got to be reminded who ran with Hillary. I don't even remember.
Tim Kaine.
You had Lord Benson. Geraldine Ferraro.
Right.
Bob Dole maybe would be an exception with Ford.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the one I could.
Of course, there was a number of years in between there.
But with Dole, there was like
you had different generations voting those elections.
People didn't even know he ran in 76. That's true.
Yeah.
That's a possibility, but I mean, it's a vice president. Even though I got to say this, there's been a lot of talk about Walz hurting Harris. I don't buy it. I mean, I really don't. I don't think vice president. I don't know who votes for vice president. Oh, she should have picked Josh Shapiro. Really?
Well,
Bob Casey, who just conceded, by the way,
yes,
in Pennsylvania. If Josh Shapiro is so popular in Pennsylvania, why was he running commercials with Trump instead of Shapiro?
Right.
Know?
There is that. The
guy's too Jewish to be vice president, but he's not Jewish enough to be president? Makes no sense. I mean, the Dems have no bench. They got nobody. Why don't we just say it? They have no one. All of their leaders are 85 years old. By the way, we're going to spend a lot of time on President Biden tonight. I still want to wish him a happy birthday yesterday.
Oh,
82 years young.
Yeah.
Doesn't look a day over 112. So, I mean, it's just... by the way, before we get going too far, no idea on the song. I don't even remember it. Was it... it was... don't tell me. John Tesh.
No. John Tesh.
I don't know. Yanni. I don't know.
Yanni. Did they even write lyrics? I don't know.
Kenny G. Who was it?
Kenny G. Yes.
What's he play? The trumpet or the trombone?
Soprano sax. Yes. No.
Want to hear a good trombone? I know he died a long time ago, but nobody's better than the great Glenn Miller.
Yeah,
he was good. To a trombone.
He was good. Yeah. The song is called "Loser" by Beck.
Oh, okay. I've heard of them.
You'd probably know the song if you heard it.
Probably.
I didn't give you the chorus on purpose.
It wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Maybe. Soy un perdedor. I'm a loser, baby.
Okay. I know the song now.
Yeah.
Didn't know Beck sang it, but
yes.
I have definitely heard the song.
Okay.
By the way, last summer, I got to throw this out here. Speaking of music, and I still love Bruce Springsteen. I mean, the guy's a musical genius. Love him. I mean, his political views can fly a kite. But I got to say this. I was driving in the summer, and I can't remember. I don't know what month. I don't know why I'm blanking, but Born in the USA was on one of the stations.
Yes.
Actually, I wasn't in town. That's why I don't remember what station it was. The number one song in the nation 40 years ago.
Yeah.
At that time, 1984.
Okay.
40 years. Now, think about this.
Yes.
I'm so old, Jay, that I remember so much when that song was like hit rockin' the nation.
Yeah.
1984. And I just sat there and thought, golly. The Detroit Tigers, the team the Twins beat in 87.
With Alan Trammell. Yeah.
Kirk Gibson, Jack Morris, that team, Darrell Evans. And I'm like, that song was before the first WrestleMania.
Huh.
And I just like, wow. 40 years. I mean, we're going to have J.D. Vance is going to get sworn in as the vice president in 7 weeks, 8 weeks?
Yeah.
The man's 7 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm. Makes you wonder what you've done with your life, doesn't it?
I totally feel like a total underachiever knowing that the vice president's 40 years old.
Oh.
I know. It's
all about life choices, Andrew.
I know, and that's okay. I'm still looking forward, not backward. Okay,
that's good.
But let me just say this. And I don't know where I was before that, but I'm just gonna digress here. So I do wish the president a happy 82nd birthday. I'm not sure if he knows. Like Trump says, I'm not sure if Biden knows he's alive.
Right.
But the whole thing, I sit here and I think to myself, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to get to it in a second, but you mentioned Walz and everybody in 2028. I watched, there's a new talking point that the Democrats have out there now. And it's that, Trump really didn't win by that much. Hear me out. The House is not that Republican. Oh, the Democrats, they only lost 4 Senate seats instead of 6. So it's really not that great of a win. Boy, poor Jessica Tarloff was trying so hard on the 5 the other day to, she got that talking points memo and was trying. And who's the lady on Harris Faulkner's show? Leslie Marshall.
Oh.
Just literally, I don't know who plagiarized who, but they literally. And I don't mind the two of them.
Really,
I don't mind them. I feel both sides need to be given time. I feel but I sat there and I said to myself, wow. That's like kind of saying like, we didn't get swept in the World Series. We got Game 3.
Right.
I mean, what is that? That's the new talking point now. See, and it's all, again, the narrative is starting. Trump doesn't really have a mandate. He only won the popular vote by 3 million when allegedly he was going to, the polls showed that, blah, blah, blah. He only won 32 states. I mean, that's not, which is, by the way, the most of a Republican since 1988. I might as well throw that out there.
Right.
But it's like, okay, so, and I remember there was the 5 was talking about the Democratic bench. Funny, they never mentioned Walz. They barely mentioned Kamala, and I think her career's done.
She doesn't think so.
Well,
there's rumors about her running for California governor or for president again in 28. So
I can't do anything about California.
Yeah.
Although Steve Garvey, if you look at his vote total, 7.2 million votes.
Yeah.
Out in California. He outdid Trump. He's probably like the only House member or Senate member in the country who actually outdid him.
Would he move to Minnesota?
He's got to be in his 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, he played for the I remember he played for the Padres in the 80s. But anyway, here's what I'm getting at. When you have, I mean, I think of the one time I can remember, and I really don't remember this because I can only go back. Think of the dysfunction of the Democrats in the 1980s.
Yes.
You had no leader. You had no presidential candidate. You had no face of the party. And they're back to that right now. They don't have a Bill Clinton. They don't have a JFK. They don't have an Obama. They have nobody to elevate to that position.
Yeah.
And so it is total disarray. It is total. They have no idea where they're going, no idea what issue to talk about, no clue what to go left, go right, go. I mean, it is total dysfunction,
yes.
Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just. Gwen Walls wants to run. Why not? I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, I still can't believe Gavin Newsom hasn't been ruled out. I mean, come on, that's what you have?
Yeah. I would think that most of the nation would be smarter than that. You know, there are dyed-in-the-wool Democrats that'll vote for anybody.
Well, sure,
you know,
they exist everywhere. But
yeah.
I mean, I can't picture Gavin Newsom going into Pennsylvania, and you notice how he carefully stayed away from the Harris campaign.
He did.
You know, he carefully did that. The guys, Gavin Newsom could look you dead in the eye, lie right to your face, and he wouldn't break a sweat.
He'd smile.
Yeah, it's unreal. I tell you what, though, I will say this about him, and I don't know if he wants to take this as a compliment or not, but I do respect the fact that he debated Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
I do respect the fact he went on the Sean Hannity show.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know too many Democrats that would do that.
Well, Harris sure didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give him a little bit of, he knew what he was in for.
Yeah.
And I'd give him a little credit for that. You know, but other than that, oh boy.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, I know that. I don't know who they have.
But they keep talking about, well, we're gonna get more Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Centrist on what?
Exactly.
You know, you're going to have to abandon some stuff for good.
Yeah. Until your party comes around and supports Israel again. Until your party comes
or quits
around.
playing both sides.
Yeah.
If you want to, you want to abandon Israel, then take a position and do it.
Right.
To me, playing both sides is the worst.
Right. Oh, and they do this on a number of things. We're for women's rights, but a woman can be whoever feels like a woman.
Right, exactly. What happened to Title IX? Who fought years for that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you can't. I think that stuff's backfiring. I think that there were several issues under the radar that were, not good for them. And I don't know. They don't have anybody who can bring it together.
Yeah. And I don't know that they've learned from it when you listen to what's going on, in the media. And it doesn't seem, there's a few voices that's like, hey, we need to step back and take a look at this, but most of them are pundits.
Well, a lot of them have gotten crapped on, too. I can't remember who the congressman is who went off about the trans stuff, but he was forced to walk a few things back.
Was that Seth Moulton?
Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't say that because I'm not sure, but he kind of had to walk back that. You could tell he was like he was getting his tooth drilled. He didn't believe what he was saying, but I don't know. I don't know who can. I don't know how you moderate. If you think a 6-year-old boy can become a girl, I don't know what the moderate position is on that.
And here's the thing: once you cross the far left of the party, they will cancel you.
Yeah, they control the money. And that's where the money is.
Yep.
I mean, unless you're Bernie Sanders and he won't take it,
right?
Which is part of why he keeps losing, because he can't finance. You can't finance everything on $20. Kamala, she raised all her money from big donors.
Yep,
there's no
all of it.
The $25 donations are going to Trump.
Yeah,
so, I mean, it's just so. I mean, I think there's a lot of. I think some of them are doing. What were we doing? Paying Oprah $2.5 million or whatever the real figure is. I'm guessing the real figure is way more than that.
Yeah,
but that's what's leaked out.
Well, they had to pay her something because for the set and the workers, otherwise it's a donation in kind.
Right, but I mean, you could have. Doesn't Oprah have couldn't she have rented out It would have been cheaper to rent out Madison Square Garden than it would have been to build that for millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, she could have rented out the Rose Bowl. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, for the 100 people that have showed up to that.
And I don't even know if they were real. It could have been virtual for all I know.
Right.
Like MSNBC at the Republican convention. I want to ask you something because I tell you what, I am worried about two things.
Okay.
John Thune and Mike Johnson.
Yes.
And
That's fair.
I want to give them a chance.
Yeah.
I really do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm already getting nervous about the cabinet. I'm getting nervous about the agenda.
Yep.
I'm getting nervous that put it this way, when Democrats win, they push through their agenda and they don't care.
Right.
Look at here in Minnesota. Look at California. Look at what happened with the Inflation Reduction Act, everything that Biden tried to push through. When Republicans win, they all of a sudden become like a bride or a groom with cold feet.
Yes.
We got to moderate. We can't be too, it's like, okay, there's been 3 or 4 times in my life where we've had a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate. It happened for a couple years under George W.
Yep.
It happened in Trump's first 2 years.
Yep.
And now it's happening now.
Yes.
Now that's 3. Remember, Reagan never even had.
Right.
I mean, the Democrats were a different party then, but he never had a Republican.
Oh, no.
Republicans controlled the Senate for a little while, but they didn't control the House, for those 36 years that were from Eisenhower to Gingrich.
Yeah.
So the idea that they're going to not, I don't want to say fast track the president's agenda, although I would.
Yeah.
We're not going to confirm his people. You knew damn well who Trump was going to appoint him. He didn't make this a secret. We're gonna sit back while Joe Biden runs roughshod or whoever the president is, and we'll get to this in a minute.
Yeah.
I am worried as hell. I'm optimistic about Trump doing what he can. Mm-hmm. He will do that. I don't have any doubt about that. I think Trump's counting the second. He's probably shaking to get.
I know.
Okay, probably it just seems like God. January 20th. That's so long from now. But I am worried about Congress.
I'm less worried about Mike Johnson just because I know that he didn't do everything we would have liked him to do during this last couple of years here, or
about a
year.
Speaker,
but he hasn't really had a leader. He's had a Democrat president. President Trump is the leader of the Republican Party,
no question,
and he is very vocal, I believe, with the leader of the Senate, leader of the House. This is my agenda. This is what I want done. He's gonna, I think, come ready to hit the ground running with bills already written. I think he's gonna have a lot of this.
Maybe I do have something to say about that, though. But yeah,
and I think that Mike Johnson is one who will play ball with President Trump.
Okay,
I don't think he has any reason not to. However, that can change if we get a Democrat Senate or something like that in the middle of his first term. I'm more worried about John Thune.
Yeah, when I look at the Senate races in 26, I don't see any scenario in which the Democrats retake it.
Well, that's good.
I really don't. I think Tom Tillis in North Carolina and whatever happens with Susan Collins' seat are the only two that I really see. I actually see more vulnerable Democrats. David Offsman down in Georgia. The Michigan seat. There's one or two others. But the other Republicans are all from Wyoming and Oklahoma, and I don't see that. Look, there's more red states than blue states.
Yep.
It's going to be hard for Dems to take the Senate when Kamala Harris wins a third of the states. I mean, that's just a fact. Right. However, what worries me about the House is it looks like the majority is going to be 221. That's not much.
Right.
And Mike Johnson has to be willing to play some serious Nancy Pelosi hardball.
Yeah.
And say, look, the worst thing we can do is do nothing here. We can't promise repeal and replace and falter on it.
Yes.
It can't happen. So you're either going to President Trump hasn't made it quiet what he's about. And I'll tell you, this is the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
There are, and I'm not quite sure I read this right, it was either 14, 15, or 16 congressional districts that Trump won in a Trump seat.
Yeah.
So there's every incentive to be closer to him. There's every incentive to follow through on it. And Johnson has got to threaten committee assignments.
Yep.
He's got to threaten support for re-election. He has to do that. And that's where I wonder if I don't think we've had a speaker like that since Gingrich. I just don't think we have. I don't think we've had somebody who's just behind the scenes ruthless.
But I think Emmer is.
Oh, is he the whip now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well,
so I think...
See, you had Gingrich and Tom DeLay with Dick Armey.
Yeah.
They ran a tight ship.
Right.
They had more seats. I mean, they had like 240-something seats.
Yeah.
But, and I think what worries me in the Senate is just look at the Matt Gaetz thing. I mean, it's Republicans that killed him.
Yeah.
It has to be.
It was. It was Murkowski, Collins, Mitch McConnell, and what's his name from Utah?
Oh, the new one.
The new one.
I can't think of his name. It's Mitt Romney's seat, but I can't think of it. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's like it's Republicans who killed it. John Thune should be walking in saying, hey, look, sorry, but you want to be on the Intelligence Committee anymore?
Yeah.
Tell you what, you're not going to be on there anymore. I don't see him doing that.
No. Well, he didn't. He didn't wrangle everybody
He
up.
hasn't done
But there was a rumor that President Trump picked Matt Gaetz specifically because he wanted to find out where his traders were at, which he did. He found out which four were never going to back him.
True, but I could have told him that beforehand. But I guess maybe he wanted it out there.
Right.
I think Pam Bondi's a great candidate too.
Absolutely.
But Gaetz would have been.
He would have been phenomenal.
Such a middle finger to the. But here's what I want to ask. I want to sit down and ask Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
How could you vote for Merrick Garland and Alejandro Mayorkas and Pete? Tell me what Pete Buttigieg's qualifications are to run the transportation department.
Yeah.
He's gay, and that's the reason he was hired. He's a DEI hire. Sorry, it's true.
It's true.
I mean, the only reason anybody knows anything about South Bend, Indiana is because Notre Dame is there. Otherwise, nobody would know anything about that city. Okay, so it's silly. How could you vote for them and not support our candidate?
Yep.
I can't understand that. And there's just, they have no answer to it. And don't give me this, there's allegations from 2017.
The Justice Department never brought a single charge.
If Matt Gaetz had sex with a 16-year-old, he'd have been charged with that 8 years ago. It's all BS. It only comes out because he's up for another appointment. It's because he ran down Kevin McCarthy, and everybody has it in for him now.
Right. Well, you notice that all of these picks are all of a sudden starting to get the same charges thrown at them from the Senate.
Pete
Hegseth, RFK.
Yeah.
You know,
Robert,
it's the same playbook.
His name is Kennedy. I mean,
what'd you expect?
You let Ted be a senator for 40 years who I think was guilty of criminally negligent homicide?
I do too.
I mean, come on, God. Gee whiz. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing too. You understand when you see Trump's team.
Yeah.
You understand what he's putting together. He wants people who are good, solid administrators who are going to ship up these departments. They're not necessarily making policy.
Yeah.
Like even Bill O'Reilly had a stupid take on Tulsi Gabbart the other night. Oh, the director of national, she's an isolationist. Like, really? She doesn't want to start 38 wars at once. That's not her job.
No.
Director of National Intelligence has nothing to do with that.
Nope. Has nothing to do with that.
And I mean, and people are ripping on Kristi Noem, and it's like South Dakota is probably the best run state on the planet. Yeah. That's what she's there to do, to shape up FEMA, to get rid of the garbage. But it's the people making policy are going to be Trump, Stephen Miller, Tom Homan.
Yep.
That's the policy makers, the kitchen cabinet. Trump wants a good, strong person. Maybe that's the fear. Hegseth, why is Hegseth there? To get the woke crap out of there, to get the career people out of there. That's what he's there to do. It's not, it's not about policy running a battle somewhere. That's not what he's doing. So
that's why you have the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and you have
a National Security Advisor.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a whole apparatus.
All these
there to
generals
do that.
And admirals
and half of them shouldn't be there either. And I think that's another.
Well,
thing.
they will get cleared out, and I think the new set that get
who's the guy that was on with Tucker? He's really good. I can't think.
Yes,
he worked for Trump in the first term.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just, but I'll tell you what. They have to follow through. I mean, they got to get their people through. I mean, you can't hamstring him like that.
Nope.
And I don't know. I'm already getting worried, Jay, and that's.
Well, rightly so, because Republican politics is a lot like Minnesota Vikings football. They do just good enough to keep you interested and then let you down in the end.
Right. Well, and like another thing that worries me is when the economic agenda comes through, because my theory is Trump wants to end the foreign policy stuff first, shut the border, then focus on the economy. I think that's his vision of how he wants to do this.
Yeah.
But, if we want no taxes on overtime, let's have a bill. No taxes on overtime.
It should be very hard to get rid of.
Yeah, we don't have to add. Now, look, in a perfect world, I'd like to add some spending cuts with some of this. But I'm willing to let Elon and Vivek do their work.
Right.
And they're going to have a weekly podcast.
Yeah.
Did you hear this? On
No,
what they're doing?
I did not.
They're going to have a weekly podcast that you can tune into where they're going to explain what they found, what they want to cut, what they're going to propose to President Trump. Yeah. So
I will listen to that one.
Yeah, so that's already out there, and I think it's going to.
It's going to be fun to watch them.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what that's going to be on, but yeah, they've already said that they're going to have a weekly update, like a weekly podcast about it.
Wow.
So yeah, full transparency, and so.
Yeah.
But I am worried that I don't want it to take 6 months to pass this stuff. And I don't want a 1,000-page bill. It should be so simple. And this is the thing. And Trump said it best. 7 out of 10 Americans, Jay, either make tips, work overtime, or get a Social Security check.
Yeah.
7 out of 10.
I believe that.
Yeah. So you can see, how many people this is going to affect when this gets going. But I worry that it's going to sit in a committee, and then we're going to have to add this and add that, and just nothing is simple in Washington.
Yeah.
They could make it simple.
Yeah, they could.
Democrats, you want to win back the working class? How about no taxes on overtime? That's the bill.
Yeah.
No federal taxes on overtime.
But they will fight the Republicans tooth and nail all the way.
Yep. Now, let me move on.
Yes.
To kind of the main event here.
All right.
I am, I don't know, speechless. Nothing, 23 years in this business, nothing surprises me.
Yeah.
But I cannot believe what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
The president of the United States, whoever is making the decision, I don't believe it's Biden, but let's just pretend that it is.
Yes.
Is bringing us, I mean, a hair from a war with Russia.
Oh, we're right.
We are
there.
we are inches from it. Now think about this for a second.
Yeah.
The president of the United States, quote, announces this. Actually, I don't know how the policy got announced, that we are going to finance weapons that can shoot 200 miles into Russia?
Yeah.
Ukraine's going to shoot them, but there are weapons.
Right. After Vladimir Putin put down a red line saying, you cross this line and it is war.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Putin's had about 10 red lines.
He has.
And we've crossed every one of them.
Sooner
or later, he's going to follow through.
Yeah.
Now, Putin has every incentive right now to just wait it out for Trump.
He does.
But I got to tell you, the more a war escalates, the harder it is to make peace.
Right.
Because both sides are going to be less willing to compromise.
Yep.
And quite frankly, I think there is a compromise because that northeastern part of Ukraine is actually probably majority Russian.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
Donbass?
Yeah. But that region is very, very mixed. I think there's a compromise that can be worked out there. But let me throw out something. Think about this for a minute.
Yeah.
The president of the United States, or whoever, announces this policy. The president doesn't talk to the media.
Yeah.
Does not address the American people. Does not talk to leaders of Congress. Does not talk to the incoming president.
No.
Explains nothing. He's at the G20 and he's running away from
into the forest.
The only yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, he ran off to Little Red Riding Hood's house or something. I don't know. And there is, with all due respect, I've been watching news.
Yeah.
And there is almost no talk of this.
Exactly. You've got to listen. Alex Jones is talking about it
Alex
almost
Jones
entirely.
Is going bananas.
Glenn Beck is talking about it.
Yes. The only person on Fox that's really done a lot is Jesse Waters.
Yeah,
but
he's really picked up the ball and tried to take over what Tucker was doing during his time there.
But I sat tonight. Right. I watched Laura Ingram's show. Not a peep of it. I watched Brett Baer's show, and I like Brett Baer.
Yeah,
not a peep of it. I watched The Five. All they talked about was Matt Gaetz and Pam Bondi, and I'm like, okay, we're literally. This didn't even happen in the Cold War, Jay.
Yeah.
We never launched missiles into Russia.
No. The closest that we've come to where we're at right now is the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right. Or the U-2 spy plane being shot down under Eisenhower.
Yeah.
That came a little close.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, there were a lot of people in Russia at the time, and I think this existed the whole time, telling Khrushchev to fire the first shot.
Yeah.
You go, and I think he said no. There were people advising Kennedy to invade Cuba. He said no.
Yeah.
I actually think both Khrushchev and Kennedy had their heads screwed on straight. Yeah. And I don't know that we have that right now.
But yeah, it was to the point with the Cuban Missile Crisis where people woke up one day and they thought this could be our last day.
People were hoarding canned goods. It was like Y2K. They were building shelters.
Yeah.
They were doing drills at school. I can't remember what they were called, but they were these nuclear bomb drills that you'd find you had to go to some place in the school or something. Crazy stuff was going on. And luckily, cooler heads prevailed. And I don't know what we have as a cooler head right now. Because
no, we don't. We have neocons and Democrats that are pushing Ukraine to escalate this.
Well, but here's the thing. Here's what I think's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think Putin's going to just slam Ukraine. He's going to just he's not dumb enough, I don't think, to fire at the United States.
No.
But I think he's going to do, and he's got 2 months to do it.
Yeah.
is to ratchet this up, and Ukraine's just going to get obliterated. But here's my question to you. What is the thinking of, because I watched Leon Panetta on CNN talk about how we should have done this a year ago.
Yeah.
And I'm going, what the?
I know.
What have you been smoking?
This shouldn't be done ever at all.
This has been going on for 3 years, and this administration has done nothing to end this war.
No.
And let me tell you something. And I really get upset when I'm called an America hater or something like that. Nobody loves this country more than I do. Okay?
I might.
I don't know. Maybe. But
yeah,
you go back to when the Berlin Wall fell in, what was it, 1990?
Yeah, 92, I think.
The Soviet Union fell
Wasn't
in
it?
92.
Oh, okay, so maybe 90, yeah.
I just remember George Bush Sr. was president. It might have been 89 or 90, but
yeah.
And one of the deals was we would not push NATO east.
Yep.
We have done nothing but push NATO east. Maybe
Exactly.
Trump is an exception.
Yeah.
But we've done nothing but push NATO east. We fomented a revolution in Ukraine. The Obama administration did that. They installed the government Zelensky wasn't there yet, but they installed.
Yeah.
Now Ukraine doesn't have elections anymore. Oh, is it that? There's elections in Russia, but there's no elections in Ukraine, spreading democracy.
Right.
I mean, so do we not understand the consequences of our actions? It's kind of like this, Jay. When I used to love when Bill Clinton called Bin Laden Bin Laden.
Yeah.
So I used to call him Bin Laden once in a while just to be a prick. But remember 9/11, and we were told by the neocons that, well, the reason that Bin Laden bombed us, he just hates freedom. He just hates the Constitution. Bin Laden wouldn't have known the Constitution if it ran him over. Okay? Why did Bin Laden hate the United States? You got to think like him.
Yeah.
It's because we meddled over in the Middle East. We propped up certain governments. We had bases in places like Saudi Arabia that they consider a holy land. We can think that that's a warped view.
Yeah.
Now, look, none of that justifies 9/11. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you've got to understand your enemy.
Yes.
And so the guy could care less about constitutional rights. Okay? Neither can our governments. What's the difference?
Right.
So it's the same thing here. Why don't we ever sit back and recognize the consequences of what we're doing? And why now? Why is this being done now? What is going on? I mean, when Nixon defeated, he escalated the Vietnam War before Nixon came in.
Yeah, people used to abide by a certain set of decorum. All of that is off the table right now, and people hate Trump so badly, or at least that's what they say, and they're using that as a reason to push their agenda. They know though that Trump is going to come in and he's going to undo everything that they've done. He's going to end those wars. He's going to get us out of a lot of the international stuff that hurts us. And so I think he's escalating this to gum up the works so that Trump is drawn into a war.
That Trump can't defuse it.
Right.
He can't. It's to a point where there is no return.
Right, and it's going to draw his attention to this war. World War III is going on. He can't fix the economy. He can't take out the regulation. Yeah, all of this stuff, his agenda is going to go by the wayside because we're in a war. I think that's it.
That is unbelievable. How is that not criminal?
It is. It's impeachable what he's doing. Unfortunately, we got 2 months left.
Yes. It's not only impeachable against Biden, but Anthony Blinken, what's he doing? I mean, the national security, Jake Sullivan, whoever else is in there. I mean, I don't know who it is. Nobody knows. I mean, I don't know who's making these decisions.
Well, we know Susan Rice.
Okay,
and
maybe one, but
Valerie Jarrett both from Obama's.
Is Victoria Nuland still there? I mean,
I don't know if she's still there.
Okay,
but
I mean. It's these institutional neocons.
Yeah.
But I mean, I sit here and I'm like, you're going to risk nuclear war just to spite the incoming president of the United States?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we are talking about nuclear war, and sure, it might be a suitcase tactical nuke that has a very limited area of destruction, but you still have to take certain things into account, especially when you have these small countries in Europe that are so close together, and the wind blows the wrong way, and you've got nuclear winter over Liechtenstein.
Well,
it's
go back to Chernobyl. I mean, what happened there? I mean, that wasn't even a bomb.
Yeah. Well, and there's interesting moves that are going on. I mean, if you look at, I don't know if you heard, there was a Chinese ship that was, a couple of Chinese ships that were out in the Baltic Sea. And when they were in the area, when they had gone over these data information cables that are buried in the Baltic Sea, there was one between Finland and Germany and another between Sweden and Lithuania that were cut. And it's thought that these Chinese ships sabotaged those. There's more going on behind the scenes than we know, and Russia did fire ICBM into Ukraine in response. I don't think that's I don't think that's the end of this by a long shot.
It's a warning shot that we're serious.
It was enough, for all of this for Germany to back off and say we're not going to send medium range missiles over there.
Tough said, "F you." Well, look at how much closer they are to.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, bomb goes the wrong way or the wind blows toward them.
Yeah, right.
We got some.
Yeah.
I would expect. I mean, I'm. There's probably a lot of behind the scenes what the F going on, but I can't understand how a move like this can be made so casually, almost like. And how does the news organizations how does the White House press corps outside of Peter Doocy how do they ignore this story? How is that possible?
Yeah,
and the newspapers outside of the New York Post and the Washington Examiner, they're not even mentioning this. It's just Putin's a madman. He's just a bad guy. Okay, well, he's still got nukes and he's not stupid. He may be a bad guy, but he's not dumb. He's cold. He's calculating. He thinks. He's deliberate. Now, if I were Putin, I mean, you have a couple options here because you can wait till January. You don't have to fire back anything. You could fire a few warning shots and say, hey, I'm not kidding here.
Right.
But we're almost putting the decision on him. It's up to him now to and look, there's opposition to him inside of Russia. There's people who don't want to escalate that there.
Right.
That's very true. But I got to say, Russia at some point has to make a red line and respond.
Yeah.
And they made red line after red line after red line, like we said, and we've crossed them.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of NATO, though, is right there with the U.S.
Of course
France,
they are.
The U.K. are sending missiles. I know Germany had pulled out of that, but...
Well, I'm not surprised at that because ultimately they're not independent countries anymore when it comes to the military.
Right.
They're not... I mean, if France got invaded tomorrow, they'd be helpless without 20 other countries helping them.
Yeah.
I mean, with all due respect, that's just they're not a world power. They're not one militarily, and they're not one economically.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is really, really frightening, and it leads me into the Middle East. I mean, you've got Russia financing Iran's nuclear program. You've got Iran in a proxy war with Israel in an actual war in Gaza. I mean, you've got Taiwan and China always being a tense situation. You got this BS that North Korea's in Ukraine, which I don't believe. I think that's crap from our Defense Department.
Really? You don't think...
I do not believe that. I do not think there's North Korean troops there. I think that's being used as an excuse to escalate this. That's what I think.
It could be.
So I haven't seen evidence of that. But I don't believe Lloyd Austin. I wouldn't believe him if he swore he was telling a lie. So I don't buy that.
Right.
And we should be skeptical of that. And let's say there are North Korean troops there. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Why is that a reason to do something?
Right. I mean, they're a nuclear power. You're really going to start
You're going to
killing
start with
their
another
troops?
nuclear country?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And a madman at that. I mean, at least with Putin, he is reasoned and he is principled. I don't like his principles. I don't like what he stands for. I think he's an evil guy. But he has a code of conduct he lives by. And Kim Jong-un, he's just nuts.
Yeah, it's gotten worse in North Korea. yeah, I know. I think Putin we can do a deal with. North Korea, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think that the Russians and the Chinese can put a lid on North Korea if they want to.
Right.
But again, I talk about the United States. We have no leverage. We have no leverage economically over China. We have no leverage militarily over Russia. So I don't know what we can do to leverage that. They'll do it if they feel like it.
Well, I think Trump tapping Matt Whitaker as the ambassador to NATO is going to be a huge deal because I think he's going to go in there and go, all right, here's the deal.
Well, I think they know what's coming. We know what came in the first term.
He was good with Trump the first term.
Yeah.
He's gonna do good in this role, I think.
I hope so, Jay.
But like you say, who's running this mess right now? We don't even know who's approving this stuff. I mean, apparently it's Joe Biden, but
you believe that?
I don't, because I think the whole reason he's avoiding the press and won't answer any questions at all, because he's not shy of turning around and giving some smart aleck quip to the press or talking about something. I don't think he knows anything about it.
God, that's just amazing.
I don't think he knows a thing about it. And so
how dangerous.
This isn't an oligarchy here in the United States.
But
we don't run a government like that.
Think about this. And it's sitting right now in Independence, Missouri.
Yeah.
Harry Truman's little thing that he kept on his desk.
Yeah.
The buck stops here.
Right.
Okay? Like you talk about not an oligarchy. I have to go to bed at night feeling someone's in charge. It's kind of like there's a comfort, although I don't like one person having so much power.
Yeah.
There's a comfort with that I go to bed and I know who my boss is at work.
Right.
I know who the boss is at my house. It's my wife. I know who's, I know this, I know that. There's certain things I know. I didn't like Barack Obama, but I never felt like Obama was letting everybody around. The chief of staff was really the president. I never got that feeling from him.
Right. I felt like he did rely on like Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice.
Experts a little too much.
Yes.
I thought John Kerry and Hillary Clinton kind of did whatever they wanted as Secretary of State. But I don't think
he made the decisions in the end.
I think at the end of the day he took accountability.
Yeah.
Same thing with George W. Bush. I think he let other people have too much authority.
He did.
But I also think at the end of the day, he didn't shy away from, okay, look, I could have said yes or no, and I didn't. I know Trump's in charge when he's there.
Yes.
Reagan was always in charge, and maybe he let some of his deputies have too much. Weinberger and a few others have too much. Yeah. But I have never had this feeling of whether I like the person in charge or not. I've never had this feeling like when it seems like the more outlandish thing, when I go back to when Donald Trump first started running, and Donald Trump and Glenn Beck and Alex Jones, they said a lot of things that I don't know if I didn't want to believe them. Like the swamp and the career people and you get promoted, you criticize the CIA and some kiddie porn will end up on your laptop. I never wanted to believe that stuff.
Huh.
And I can tell you, I believe almost every drop of it now. You and I used to dig into Agenda 21 and North American Union and we're crazy, we're nutcases. Not only were we on to something, we were ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And I'm so do we? It almost proves we don't need a president.
Yeah. When you run it that way, which is the way that the whole progressive movement wanted things to be. It trusts the experts. It's always the experts. And that is how they've built this from the 19 teens.
Yeah, the original progressive era.
Brandeis and all those guys.
Woodrow Wilson.
Yep, Woodrow Wilson.
Colonel House.
Yeah. Louis Brandeis was terrible.
Yeah.
As far as the determining the path that the Democrat Party would take in building this progressive movement. And unfortunately, it has gotten to a point where the experts run everything. They run everything.
Yeah, their career. It's like the city level. You got the city manager, and you've got the city finance geek.
Yeah,
and you've got the planning person.
Yeah,
and they outlast city mayor. They outlast city.
Yeah, and there was a lot of things when I started paying more attention. Listened to a lot of Glenn Beck and a lot of Alex Jones way back in the 2000.
20 years ago, 15 years
2004
ago,
era, and I learned a lot about, Operation Paperclip,
and
all of these kinds of things. And there was a paper trail. But
MK
then
Ultra.
Alex Jones started talking about, there are these pedophile rings in government and all of that, and I just kind of blew it off, and I'm like, that can't be true. I wanted to believe that my government wouldn't go that far, but now we see where they're actually working with the cartels to bring people into processing centers here, to bring kids into these processing centers here in this country, and then to have them distributed to different places in the United States. They are actively trafficking in children right now, right here.
Hey, it's as bad as slavery. It's as bad as that.
He was right about it the whole time.
Yeah, it's as bad as taking Africans on a ship.
Yes,
over here in the 1800s. It's
absolutely.
I know. It's just
which,
nuts.
by the way, just so the record's clear, the Africans sold other Africans into slavery.
True.
And there were other countries that were far worse than the United States in the way that they treated slaves, in how they purchased slaves.
Well, remember,
just so
slave
we're clear,
trade
it was always bad.
Slave trade was technically embargoed as of 1807. That's in the Constitution. Now, there was still some smuggling going on, but nowhere near to the level of some other places. I got to say, though, too, I mean, everything is so backwards, Jay. Look at it this way. I know nothing about what my government's doing in my name. Okay? I know nothing.
Right.
It's all classified for my security, right?
Right.
Government knows everything about me.
Absolutely they do.
They know where I live, where I work, where I bank, where they can track my phone. They know what car I drive.
Yep.
Anything they want to learn about me, they can.
Yes.
They know if I have a gun or not because I have to tell them, even though I have a Second Amendment that says I don't.
Right.
Okay? So think of how opposite, how upside down our government is with what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to the CIA is supposed to have nothing to do with American citizens.
Yeah.
Not a thing.
Not a thing.
You're not supposed to take out a president.
Nope.
You're not supposed to do experiments on you're not supposed to have Manchurian candidates.
Nope.
They're not supposed to do, by law, they can't do any of that.
Right. Nope. They should not be doing any kind of research or starting a file on American citizens.
They have one. But think about what I just said. And think about the old Soviet Union.
Yeah.
You used to have files on people.
Right.
And you couldn't go from place to place without your papers and blah, blah, blah. We've escalated into that. That's us now.
Yeah.
We're that country now.
Yeah. You know, the East German Stasi, getting people to tell on their neighbors. And, what did Waltz do?
Yeah, exactly.
And he threatened to do it again later. Not about masks, but about other things.
Oh, who had people over at their house? You got to tell us.
Yeah.
Rat them out. I'll tell you. I don't know how we unravel this. I mean, look, Trump's fearless. He doesn't care what people say or anything like that. But there's a limit as to what he can do himself. And we're going to have to ultimately, we are going to have to get not just the Congress, but governors. I mean,
you're right. Exactly. Oh, sorry. Did you want to finish that thought?
No, I'm just saying to fully turn around and implement what we really want. I mean, it can't just be done by the president.
No. And this is the thing, and a piece of wisdom I feel like I received before this election is that once Trump wins, this then has to go to the states and to the local level, and we've got a clean house from top to bottom. President Trump is going to give us the cover to do this if we're willing to pick up the fight. Now, I kind of see President Trump's win as Little Round Top, potentially.
Yeah.
And if we're willing to take the fight...
For you millennials, that's a little Civil War.
Yeah. If we're willing to take the fight, then to the state houses and to
we can
the
shoot
city
down
councils.
Pickett's charge now.
Well, I mean, was that or was that not like kind of the turning point?
Yeah,
Gettysburg,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like this is the turning point. The wind is now in our sails, and if we're willing to work hard in all 50 states, not just to rout out bad policies and Democrats, but also the rhinos and primary them and really work hard for the next 1, 2, 4 election cycles, maybe we can clean house down to the bottom and begin to grow again a good crop of America-loving patriots that are willing to serve and not serve themselves.
Can we do that? Can we do that? And let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Is there any way, because I'm on the fence about this, is there any way that we can do that without either A, getting rid of some of these things completely? Can the CIA be reformed? I
don't know.
Can the FBI be... Look, and Trump's already doing this right now. He's going to come in and decapitate the tops of these organizations.
Absolutely he is.
And he's going to install a tough, reform-minded person. And that's kind of step 1 and step 2 of how to get going. But can you that's important.
Yeah.
But can you repurpose something? Like RFK comes in and he said this publicly that and he's done a lot to expose things like at the FDA. The FDA, people are working at the FDA and then they're going off to work in the fields that they were supposed to be.
Right.
Same thing at the CDC. They go off and they work for Pfizer.
Right.
Okay. So you can go in and you can put a new person in charge. They can be a great person like that. But can they ultimately change that? Or do we have to go, this is not changeable. No. We've got to just decapitate this and start over.
There's a whole lot of it that you have to decapitate, and getting rid of the Department of Education, the Department of the Interior, all of these.
Department of Energy, I don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
But I mean, like with somebody like RFK, do we need Congress? Because one of the things he's called on is Congress to pass laws that these folks can't do that they can't they can't work for the industry and then work at the government where they're they have to disclose. Anthony Fauci's got to disclose where he's getting, because he doesn't have to right now. There's no transparency at all. They have to come clean. Rand Paul's been trying for 4 years to get documents from the CDC. What right does the CDC have to not turn them over to Congress?
None.
So
Congress is the oversight for a lot of these executive administrative
These
branches.
things are not they are not off by themselves. They can just do whatever they want to. So how does the CDC then be reformed? You can put a new guy in charge, and that's important because that changing the culture starts at the top. But how do you reverse 50 years of doing something one way?
Yeah, I mean, you really have to start over.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping they'll get rid of like NIH and some of these other areas, FDA maybe even, or USDA. I don't know.
Possibly. I think they're on the chopping block.
Yeah, but how do you start over then with like just paring it down to bare bones? That's something where Elon Musk is really good,
right? But
anyways,
let me throw a suggestion out there.
Yeah,
start with something like education. Well, every state has a Department of Education, so if you got rid of the federal one, and I'm not saying you need to get rid of it 100%. You could get rid of it, and the federal government could play a role. They could play a role in, having because I like the fact that you could have 50 different laboratories out there. Federal government could play a role in bringing that together. They could play a role doing something small like that. But ultimately, sending my money to Washington, having them send it back to me with strings attached is about the dumbest way to fund anything.
Exactly.
So, and again, the government can have a role in energy. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of land that's owned by the federal government. There's a lot of resources and I don't know how they control it. How does the federal government control the ocean? I mean, who put them in charge of it? So again, can there be a role played? Sure, but the roles should be limited. We have a 9th and 10th Amendment for a reason.
Yes,
they should be respected.
Absolutely.
And so I just don't know how to redirect that. And I don't know how to start from scratch either. How do you firebomb the FDA and then go, okay, well, what do we do now? FDA has labels on stuff. The FDA has, so what do you do to? I mean, like I said, a strong administrator, limited powers, full disclosure, nobody from the industry working in government at the same time. Great ways. Very good things we could do to start. Yeah. But ultimately, I don't know that changes, that makes all the changes we want to make.
Yeah, you have to clean house from the top to the bottom. I mean, you really do. You have to cut ties, where the 9th and 10th Amendments tell you have to cut ties. But then you look down to the lower levels. Case in point, I don't know if you've heard about this, but Robbinsdale schools happen to lose about $20 million. So they screwed up at the local level too, right? But that's where we have to own, our own vote at the level, and we have to not be uninformed voters. We can't be. We can't just
two people there just got reelected.
Yeah,
Isn't it funny how that came out right after the election too?
It was funny how it came out right after people voted for a referendum to give them more money.
Oh, did they? I didn't know there was a referendum.
Yes, there was a referendum on the ballot. Give us more money. Oh, we lost $20 million. I'm sorry.
The education system's hopeless.
Yes.
It's just hopeless.
That's why the next governor of Minnesota needs to totally fire everybody in the Department of Education and rehire it with people that are pro-school choice, getting rid of they have to get rid of these new teacher licensing standards. That has to go away.
Alternative teacher licenses need to be expanded.
Yeah.
I mean, education is it's a poop hole.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe it. We have successful people in this country in spite of our education system, not because of it.
Yeah, Minnesota used to be one of the top states for teachers. People from Texas wanted teachers from Minnesota. Oklahoma wanted teachers from Minnesota, and now I wouldn't hire a teacher from Minnesota to shovel elephant poop at the zoo.
No, it's because we all know the standards are low, the results are bad.
Yeah, and it's not that all the teachers are bad, but they're set up to fail by the universities, and with the restrictions that are put on them at St. Paul. I mean, they're recruiting too many of the wrong people.
Well, they're recruiting based on race, on gender, on
wokeness.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not a meritocracy anymore.
No.
So, good luck fixing that, though. I don't know. It's so entrenched here in Minnesota that I don't know. And I don't know what it is about Minnesota voters, but for whatever reason, I don't know how many times they pass referendums. I don't know. I've said this before. I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't. And let me get back to the lame duck stuff for a minute.
Sorry.
Because there is an effort, and I don't know how many people are aware of this. There's an effort to shove judges through while the Democrats control the Senate. There's an effort to spend. This is again where I want to know where the Republican House is here.
Yeah.
The Transportation Department is trying to sign contracts and basically that tie the government for like the next year or two on projects that they've had 4 years to do. But I mean, again, they're going to do all this stuff and have no accountability for it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'll tell you something else that's going to happen with these wars. The media has completely blacked out what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. There are hundreds of thousands of people who've lost their lives.
Yes.
You don't hear about it. When Trump becomes president, you're going to start hearing about it.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you you're going to start hearing about the casualties there.
Oh, absolutely. They were...
That's one of the reasons he wants this
done, yeah.
Like, before he takes office.
Because the media, I mean, during COVID, that's all they did. Look how many people died today. Look how many people died today. Like, they're not going to do that with these wars?
Yeah, and then when Biden became president, all of a sudden, the little counters that you saw, they went away all of a sudden. Yeah. Even though way more people died under Biden, you don't see. Only Trump points that out.
Yeah.
Nobody else does. So it's, I mean, it's going to be bad. I mean, look, I still think, I do think Trump has a plan. I do think he may be talking to them too. It is possible. I mean, I don't know how ethical it is for him to do it, but if Biden's going to make decisions like this, you got no choice but to circumvent him, because I could guarantee you they didn't talk about this a week ago.
No.
When Trump was at the White House.
No, they did not. No, and I worry a little bit. At what point are they going to say on the left and maybe even the rhinos that Trump is undermining the president of the United States because he's going behind the president's back to institute a policy that's different from, and
I'm surprised that hasn't started already.
Yeah.
Zelensky called Trump the day after the election. Netanyahu called him like 2 days later.
Yeah.
He's been talking to them. Netanyahu was here in the summer and he met with Trump.
Yeah. Well, and there, he is actively working behind the scenes in this whole Russia-Ukraine thing. At what point? I mean, there's not much he can say, I think, other than, you know what? Hold on for 2 months. Hold on for 2 months. I'm coming. We will get this resolved.
He might be telling Putin, I'll reverse this when I get there.
Yeah.
But
just don't.
What if a bunch of missiles are launched between now and then by Ukraine?
Yeah.
What happens then? What happens in the Middle East? If I mean, we've had over a year.
Yeah.
Between Israel and the it's escalated to Iran. I mean,
yeah.
And I've seen nothing from this administration. Not a thing.
No.
I love Corinne Jean-Pierre. The president's been clear. The president's been anything but clear.
Right.
Clear's the one thing that he hasn't been. He's been everything else, but clear.
Yeah.
Clear on Biden is if you look through one ear and out the other. Then it's clear. But that's it. So I don't know. You know what? I think they can accuse him of look, I mean, I think you're going to hear it. I think you're already hearing it to a degree from the neocons.
Yeah.
Because they know that their policies of, trying to start 20 wars at once, and I still don't understand it. I still don't get why you'd want to do that. It's like, haven't we learned anything from look? Haven't we learned from Iraq and Afghanistan? Look, I was a hawk back then because I thought that, and maybe I fell for propaganda. Maybe I was a little naive.
Yeah.
I thought that the, quote, war on terror couldn't be won by rounding out 20 people in caves and just calling it a win.
Yeah.
You had state sponsorship. These terrorist groups wouldn't exist without these governments that give them a safe haven and all that. So maybe we got to take out a couple governments. Maybe we have to. Now, in retrospect, it was I don't know if we did it wrong. I don't know if we went to the wrong countries. I don't know if we underestimated the resistant. We clearly did that. In retrospect, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
But at the time, I'm like, okay, well, we can't just. Okay, so we go get Bin Laden. Well, then there's another Bin Laden.
Yeah, and I think that's around the time I started to kind of question things too. It's like, okay, we're going into Afghanistan. We're going after Bin Laden. We're going to set things straight. And then we went into Iraq. And I'm like, what does this have to do with?
At the time, I'll tell you what I was thinking. I was thinking, okay, if we get rid of the Taliban, if we get rid of Saddam, we get rid of 2 safe havens for terrorists.
Yeah.
Maybe other countries get a little scared that they're next.
Right.
Maybe other countries quit writing those checks. Maybe, like what happened in Libya when Gaddafi came. I ain't gonna be the next guy. And maybe there's a wind of change going on over there. But in retrospect, it's like, okay, you've got tribal communities,
right?
And I'm not ripping them. I'm just saying it is what it is. Iraq is 3 countries.
Yeah, it really is.
You've got the Sunnis with all the power.
Yeah.
The Shias with all the people.
And the Kurds
and the
with
Kurds
nothing.
who are stuck between them and Turkey.
Yeah.
It's not so simple to put them under. It's ripe for a dictatorship.
Yeah.
It's not that I want one.
Right.
But it's ripe for. It had been a colony. Mm-hmm. It had, it's just going, and I saw, and this is the thing. This is why when I see a foreign policy expert, I stop and I go, God, when was the last time this guy was right? And yet he keeps going on. They keep going on. You turn on the Sunday shows.
Yeah.
It's one anti-Trump Republican and 4 Democrats on every show.
Right. Well, and this is why our State Department needs to be revamped from the top down. Everybody needs to be fired, and it is because we've had a policy now for decades about regime change. And we were in charge of getting rid of the pro-peace president of Ukraine and installing Zelensky. We were in charge of getting rid of Saddam, and now look at them. They're they're under Iran's control.
How about Afghanistan? They've completely gone back to where they were.
Back to the Taliban. We were in charge of the Arab Spring in North Africa. We started that.
We tried to take out Bashir in Syria and failed. Yeah, I know.
This is not the kind of policy that that
but
the
it
United
goes back.
States should
goes
be.
back further than that. It goes to Bosnia, Rwanda,
Pinochet,
Mogadishu. We've done all this whack-a-mole stuff over there.
Yeah,
where we insert ourselves in the middle of it. We make it worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. We haven't had a foreign policy success in a long time.
No.
I mean, the guy Trump took out,
al-Baghdadi.
Yeah, the one guy that he took out. Notice how Trump took out a top leader without invading anybody.
Right.
Not one U.S. casualty.
Didn't start a war.
And he just gets ripped on for it. And it's like, really? What would you prefer? Another 10-year war somewhere?
Yeah, should we just call them the JV squad and let them start beheading Christians? Oh, that was what Obama did.
No kidding. I don't know. It's a dangerous. I'll tell you what, it's a way more dangerous world than it used to be. It used to be you had two superpowers who, like we talked about, kept each other.
Yeah.
Until finally, Reagan won the chess match.
Right.
But I also don't understand what is Mike Pence was on and talked about the unprovoked action in Russia. I'm like, what? Seriously?
Unprovoked. Well, he though is a war hawk too. I mean, he's been pro this battle, this war, funding Ukraine. Giving
but I'd like to sit Mike
aid.
Pence down and say, okay, how about, I've used this example before.
Yeah.
The Russians overthrow the government of Canada.
Yep.
And threaten that Canada is going to join the Warsaw Pact. I know that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. I mean, would the United States sit there and do nothing?
Right.
No, we'd probably invade the next day. So what do you talk? Why is, and why can't we sit down and talk to Putin? What is so, we sat down with Joseph Stalin. Why is it that this is so, you can't talk to Putin, you can't negotiate. What? What do you mean you can't? Why?
Well, they're just unable to. That's what that means.
We sat down with Brezhnev,
Yep.
with Gorbachev, with Khrushchev, with Yuri Andropov. We sat down with the original leader of North Korea. We sat down with the puppet governments over there in Eastern Europe. I mean, come on. We sat down with China. What do you mean we can't sit down with Putin?
Yeah.
You want peace or don't you? And they don't want it.
No.
And of course, their kid's not going to go. Yeah, they're not going to go over there. They'll send somebody else. It's just the same old, same old. It's not going to be. It's not going to be their war. It'll be somebody else's.
Right.
That pays the price.
Meanwhile, if this escalates and Putin does do something that draws NATO in, draft is reinstituted. Right now, girls are able to get drafted.
Could be, and we're under obligation under the NATO charter to support anything over there.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Which I think Trump will put an end to right away.
I think we will be as of until January 20th. But I mean,
you back off or we're out.
Well, I still come down to, and I would really, really, unfortunately, you can't have a rational conversation about this.
Yeah.
But NATO's role, whatever NATO's mission is, really needs to be rethought.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really does, because Trump's right. We're bearing the burden. We're the ones protecting the entire Western Europe. It's all on us. Mm. And Trump has to do it because you can't have America first with that. So it's just, But
yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, we don't know who's in control right now. I mean, even the vice president. She has 2 months left in office.
She's vacationing in Hawaii right now.
You have 2 months left. Get off your butt.
On the brink of nuclear war, and you're in Hawaii? What vacation? She must be going there with all that campaign money that was ripped off. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Let me ask you a couple predictions here. Who does Biden pardon before he leaves office?
I don't know.
Because you know what I'd do if I were Trump?
Yeah.
I'd sit down and I'd say, here's what I want. I want you to pardon me.
Yeah.
And I'll pardon Hunter. And we'll just end all this crap.
I mean, except for the state cases, unfortunately.
Well, that's
you can
funny.
Only pardon the federal ones.
Well, funny how they're all gone now after the election. I thought
except for Alvin Bragg. Yeah.
Merrick Garland said he had no control over but now all of a sudden he does.
Yeah. Alvin Bragg and Letitia James are still going after him.
The James case is dead, but
it better be.
In New York, I don't know what'll happen, but honestly, I don't know. I think that'd be. But what do you think? Because I still get the feeling that during Trump's 4 years, you're going to see Julian Assange pardoned, Edward Snowden pardoned.
Yeah.
You're going to see a real commitment back to. I think Trump toyed with it.
Yeah.
Maybe January 6th made it impossible for him. But I think that do you think Biden's got anybody up his sleeve? He's gonna.
I don't know who's been put in jail. Nobody.
That's true. There's no consequences for nothing. Not since Rod Blagojevich, as a Democrat, been with another BS prosecution.
Right.
Just Blagojevich was an independent guy who spoke out, and like Jim Trafficant, then they got tossed over the bus.
Right.
I don't know.
He's not going to pardon. I mean, I know they've already done their time, but Roger Stone and
Steve Bannon.
And
no, but you could expunge that stuff.
You could. Yeah, he won't.
Yeah, because that's a lawfare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Huh. I don't know. I would. Pardoning. I just go back to the last minutes of that Clinton administration, man.
They let them all out.
Boy, they let every Vietnam person out of there. They
Yeah.
let anybody out, and I just wonder who we're going to find out about. But
maybe Biden will pardon what's his name, the mastermind of the 9/11 attacks.
The
hairy back
Sheikh
guy,
Mohammed or something, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe.
No,
he doesn't look like he could be the mastermind of a McDonald's.
He can't be the master.
He's
not
just the guy we
mastermind
caught.
that's shaving his back.
Yeah, he's the guy we caught. What did we just say that? Well, but I'll tell you, this is going to be a long 7-8 weeks, Jay.
Yeah.
A really long 7-8 weeks, and I'm pretty nervous.
Yeah, I am too. The world is balancing on the edge of a knife.
Now I know what it was like, when Lincoln won. Remember, he had to wait till March 4th.
Yeah.
I mean, there was that long period of time, 4 months.
Yeah.
For a new person to come in.
Oh. Oof. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the amount of this is again the Democratic Party where you ask, are they going to change? Are they going to? If you look at the big cities in this country,
yeah,
and you got L.A., Chicago, New York, and Houston, the 4 biggest. They're still left-wing loony, although there was movement in Chicago and New York towards Trump. Then you look at some of the other big cities, Phoenix, Miami, places that have where they aren't all blue.
Right.
If you just look at like the 4 big cities and then the rest of the country, it's pretty red. Here's my question. You take those big cities and they're still going to resist the immigration.
Oh yeah.
But what are they thinking? I mean, how do you justify not deporting illegal aliens who are criminals? How do they not get called out on it?
Yeah.
How is that not the leading story on the 6 o'clock news? Yeah, the governor just issued a decree that if you're an alien and you're a convicted felon, you get to stay.
Right.
And live off the taxpayers. Meanwhile, the rest of us have to pay $300 for groceries and $100 to fill up our car and blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean,
yeah.
How in the world does that, the Democrats going to change? What's the moderate position there between deporting or not deporting an illegal alien who's a felon? What's the moderate position there? What's the centrist position? You know?
I don't think you can be on the fence with that one. Either for it or you're not.
But it's just another case of where the American people are so staunchly on one camp, and you can't.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this is, again, I come back to Congress. They're going to have to cut off funding.
Yeah.
They're going to have to cut off anything to these cities if they violate federal law.
Yeah.
If I violate federal law, I don't pay my income taxes. They come after me.
Yeah.
Why don't they go after these mayors and governors?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, different department, I guess. I mean,
I suppose
the IRS is super eager to go after people. And then you have, I don't know, the DOJ, which is run by Merrick Garland, who doesn't want to go after anybody but Trump.
Yeah, I mean,
and his supporters.
Right. So maybe that's the I don't know, but I mean, there's no consequences if these people don't want to. You know, I don't want to hear that nobody's above the law. I don't want to hear that from the left. What are you talking about? People above the law all the time. They're called illegal aliens.
Right.
I'm sorry, undocumented worker.
10 million of them that are above the law.
Who knows how many?
Yeah.
50 million, a gazillion. I mean, funny, we can count them all, but we can't get rid of them. That's always the funny part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, you go into a grocery store nowadays and they have cleared out a bunch of room where things used to be, and 30% of things now, 25% of things are like Mexican products. You know, and it's delicious. A lot of it, but you know, it's just I'm not saying it's wrong, it should be changed back. I'm just saying there's a shift. There's been a shift, and you can't move 10 million people. I mean, that's larger than the state of Minnesota. You can't move 10 million people into a country and think that it's not going to have an effect on the products we buy, the services we use. The
hospitals, the schools, law enforcement, you name it. I mean, housing.
Yeah. But here again, lame duck Biden is getting rid of regulations, bringing more people in here before Trump comes into office.
It's crazy. I mean, and here's the other thing too. We talk about Russia interfering in the election.
Yeah.
Well, if a bunch of illegal aliens come across the border, isn't that foreign interference?
If they vote, it is.
If one of them votes, it's foreign interference. It's a much more legit case than Putin's out there trying to prevent Hillary from winning. Putin didn't care. He didn't care.
Russians were hacking into things.
Russians. I don't know. I still have not been made clear to me who and why. But foreign governments try to do that stuff. We've done it too.
Oh, absolutely.
We've interfered in elections all over the world.
Absolutely.
So making sure our guy gets installed. So we don't have a moral authority there. Sorry, but we don't.
Yeah.
So what's the ticket in 08, Jay? Or 28? It's Gwen Walls and Doug Emhoff. Is that the ticket?
It'll be Tim Walz. No, I don't know. I don't think he'll be able to get through the nomination process.
See, that's the thing, too. How do you get through that? Because we all know Democrats cheat.
Yeah.
3 straight times they've installed a candidate.
Yes.
They didn't elect one.
Yeah. It'll be whoever they want. Whoever the party wants, they'll figure it out somehow.
I mean, when was the last time they had an open comp? Was it Obama, Hillary? Was the last time there was really, and if there was real dirt on Obama, the Clintons would have found it.
Yeah.
The Jeremiah Wright stuff, I think, came from them. But I mean, then you had Obama in 12. You had Hillary installed in 16.
Yeah.
You had Biden installed to stop Bernie in 20.
Yeah.
All the candidates just somehow dropped out the same day and endorsed Biden.
Uh-huh.
Sure, there was nothing going on behind the scenes. And then, of course, they prevented anybody from running against Biden, then dropped him when it was convenient and installed the vice president. So it's been 20 years since they've had real competition for and it'll be an open seat because Trump can't run again.
Yeah.
So it'll be, I mean, I think it'll be JD, but I mean.
I do too.
But what do you. I don't even know who's on the short list. I mean, I have no idea. Whoever they say, I'll laugh at them.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine Josh Shapiro's going to throw his hat in the ring. Andy Bashar might throw his hat in the ring. His head in the ring.
Possibly.
Might throw his hat in the ring. Gavin Newsom might throw his hat in the ring.
I think Gavin Newsom's a for sure.
Yeah.
But like, who's in the House and Senate?
Well, Trump did say Chuck Schumer might be the first female president.
You still got a chance.
Yeah.
How does he survive?
I don't know.
How does he survive? I mean, he should have. Quite frankly, the Democrats should have lost more seats in the Senate. 4 is a lot to flip, but and the Democrats made some mistakes too, like we talked about in Texas. But I mean, we won in spite of people like Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think about it. Like, I don't even know who's like their governors are, or like I said, they don't have a dynamic 40-year-old person that, the last time the Democrats were excited was Barack Obama.
Uh-huh.
So where's?
Yeah, I don't think you get that through Gretchen Whitmer, who is also a possibility of throwing her hat in the ring.
Jeez. Goodness gracious. Do you think she's hurt by what happened in Michigan?
Enough to lose next time?
I think Josh Shapiro's hurt a little bit. They lose a Senate seat. They lose.
Maybe.
Shapiro didn't do anything. He carefully,
if they
kept Kamala at a distance,
yeah,
like John Fetterman too would go near.
I think if Pennsylvania keeps the pressure on with voter registration and early voting, that there's a good chance that they run a lot of those guys out of Pennsylvania, and it goes back to being a bright red like Florida or Iowa or anything like that. But
well, they've made so many inroads, especially with the working class. I mean, I don't know. Again, it's all they got to come through on the agenda now,
right?
So.
And will the Republicans remain populist, or are they going to go back into?
I think it's a point of no return. I don't think
it has
to
be.
Back. I think you can go back to a Bush McCain party. I don't think you can go back to that. Yeah, but you just can't anymore. That's gone. It's irreversible, I think.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's a new party. But you know what? Parties do this all the time. I mean, go back to Reagan. I mean, it was the Ford, Eisenhower, Rockefeller Republicans for 25 years.
Right.
And when Reagan came in, and then again it flipped back, and now it's flipped. I mean, you've seen the Democrats do that.
Yeah.
You had the Truman Kennedy Democrats, and then like the Mondale Democrats. Then they went back to, parties shift a lot. But I think we're at a point that we're living through a political realignment that we haven't seen in 30 or 40 years in this country.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how the Democrat Party ever flips back to being your Kennedy type Democrat. I think that's done.
They're Republicans now.
Yeah. And that worries me a little bit that they're bringing in policies that are more left-ish, not the left. It's not radical, but where you water down conservatism a little bit, to make your tent bigger. But
well, you do and you don't, because I think when people are willing to vote for one person, like just take Trump, for example.
Yeah.
And this happened under Reagan as well. But people are willing, okay, I mean, a lot of people voted Republican for the first time.
Right.
This time.
Yeah.
A lot of people voted for Trump who maybe didn't vote for him in 2016.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're willing to do that once, I think you're willing to... That's the hardest thing to do, is do it the first time.
Yeah.
After that, it gets easier and easier and easier.
Yeah.
And I think that this is why it's so important to pass his agenda, because when you show that our ideas work, more people are going to go, okay, I thought that, and maybe that was true 10 years ago, but like one of the things, and I think the Republican Party is going to ultimately have a debate on this, is union versus right to work.
Yeah.
I used to talk to people who were union, and they would say, God, I'm pro Second Amendment, I'm blah, blah, blah. But Republicans, they're just so hot. I can't go right to work. I support Republicans on these issues, but they would vote Democrat to protect their union. And if Republicans, okay, look, stop being so hot. Those voters are win-overable.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, is right to work a principle that I personally kind of believe in? I can contract my labor for whatever I choose.
Yeah.
That's freedom, sure. But I also understand people who have a trade that's a growing sector in this economy right now. And if they won't want to unionize, why should we not still welcome them in the party with other issues?
Right.
So it's like, am I compromising my principle? Well, not really, because to me, they want to unionize, they can. If they don't, I have a right to shop where I want. I feel like that's a choice that I think they're free to make. Now, is it a choice I would make? No, I don't want the guy next to me deciding how much money I make. No, I don't like the way unions are structured, and I don't like somebody else negotiating my wage. I just...
Right.
But we should understand that those people are a lot of them are culturally conservative.
Yeah.
A lot of them they don't want to vote for the Elizabeth Warrens of the world.
No, and especially in Minnesota, where you've got an environmental lobby that has shut down mining,
right?
And
good paying jobs,
made it impossible for people in northern Minnesota to even survive in some of these cities.
Yeah, that's why a lot of them are ghost towns now, because they can't make a living doing what they did because of government policy. But again, what I'm trying to get at is, you ask, is it less conservative? Well, there's a couple different ways to look at that. The whole traditional conservative position, there's real world USA, and there's the ideal world that we'll never live in.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, do I want free trade? Yes, the free exchange of goods and services. That's capitalism.
Right.
Okay? But in real world USA, every trading partner is not the same.
Yeah.
In real world USA, their country's trying to hurt us, screw us.
Yeah.
And it's very, there's an anti-globalist thing to it. Under certain circumstances, I favor free trade.
Yeah.
There's certain circumstances I don't. So am I screwing my principle? Okay, I guess I am. But I'll side with an American person's job over my principles any day of the week. What are you going to tell somebody my age who's been working in a steel plant for 25? Hey, sorry, pal. I got principles. My principles, my Milton Friedman principles say that I have to be for this. So you can go deliver pizzas.
Yeah.
See, and that's where it's kind of like, I don't want to say redefining conservatism, but we gotta stop being so philosophical and start being more practical.
Yeah.
We could still believe in limited government. We could still believe in lower taxes. We could still believe in school choice without being down the line Austrian economics and winning an argument with a Ron Paul guy on Facebook. But you know what? I hope those people stay in the party.
Yeah.
I don't want even the Mike Pences of the world who I just crapped on. I don't want him to go. I don't, because to me, internally debating direction and ideas is what parties should be doing.
Yeah.
And I have no fear of an internal debate.
Right.
But if the my way or the highway, if somebody said that to me, I'd say, go straddle a goat, pal. If that's what you want. Your party's going to shrink, not expand.
Yeah.
And you also have to understand that we have to understand everybody's not as engaged as we are. And what they want is they want a government that represents them, that is good, that's efficient, that's smart with their tax dollar, that doesn't get us into a nuclear war. That's what they want. They'll leave the details to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And look, I know that's tough to sell to some people, and that's okay. I mean, I've said this before. People say I've moderated or I'm not as conservative as I used to be. Let me give you a quick example, and we'll end this here. Because the Bernie Sanders people put me on an issue that I didn't think about before he kind of nationalized it. And my wife's had something to do with this, and other people. And that is the cost of college.
Yeah.
What we're paying for my wife and student loans is ridiculous.
Right.
What people have to pay. And I have my own solutions to this, okay? And it's not the Bernie Sanders solution. But I got to say, him bringing out this issue and seeing it affect the person I love the most on earth, and seeing it affect other people, and not having college debt myself, I get the issue now.
Yeah.
I get why it's a big issue for people. I understand it so much better, and I credit Mr. Sanders for some of it. Now, I think his solution is insane.
Right.
Well, it's not free college. You're just giving me the bill, okay? But he's not wrong in saying that it's a barrier.
Yeah.
That it is not fair, that college admission isn't with legacy. I mean, there's a lot of things not fair about college, admissions and so on.
Yeah.
It is a barrier for people. Now, my first response is, well, I went to community college, and, you could join the National Guard, and you could go to school part-time. I mean,
most people really don't need college.
Yeah. There's trade schools, but like my wife wanted to be a nurse, and there's one way to get a license.
Yeah.
There's one program to do.
Right.
She has no choice. And it's not like she's being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that burden, that is a wall for some people. So I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the liberal or conservative answer to it all is. Because quite frankly, I don't think conservatives have very good answers to that either.
Right.
But I get the issue. And I don't know if that makes me more left or more right or what. But what real people have to deal with, real people don't care about left or right so much on that stuff.
Right.
They want a solution to it. Now, I don't think making it free is fair. I don't think wiping out debt, and I don't think the president has the authority to get rid of a private contract. Those are dumb solutions.
Yeah.
But I understand the issue. So that's all I can say, about it is I'm understanding some stuff better. I get why people want to unionize. I said, I don't want to, but I understand it better. This is why I like talking to people who don't agree with me, because I learned something.
Yeah.
I don't agree with them at the end of the day. I still agree with me, but I learned something, It's fun to talk to people you don't agree with.
Yeah.
It's not adversarial. Why can't you pick somebody else's brain?
Yeah.
Who doesn't see everything the way you see it? You and I don't agree sometimes on stuff, but we don't shy away from saying so,
right?
Or listening to each other. So I don't know. It's just so if I'm less this or less that, so be it.
Wow.
But I guess my point was, about expanding the party. You're right, and we can't be a principle-less party. Because then you're not you don't stand for anything.
Right.
We can't be that. But I think there's a certain amount of, if we want a person to see our issues our way, I think we have to see things their way too.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just hoping that President Trump has opened the door for that, to a point where this is not a one-off.
Right.
Where it's not a one-off. Here's another thing, real quick. I just love the Republicans who think, anybody could have won. Somebody else would have won. Let me tell you something. Not only was Trump the strongest candidate,
yeah,
but you're going to sit there and tell me Nikki Haley would have gotten 48% of the Hispanic vote?
No.
Would have won suburban women?
She might have done
maybe.
okay
I
with
don't
women,
know about that. I'm not
but
sure.
Black males?
No way. She'd have gotten all those voters in Michigan, in Pennsylvania. All those blue collar people would have voted for her.
Right.
No chance.
No.
Hey, DeSantis, maybe he could have thrown the right coalition, but I think it took Trump to.
Yeah.
I think it took him to do it. I really do. And I think not only was he the strongest, he's the right guy at the right time. This election had a 1980 feel to it. That you Reagan Carter, and you're like, ugh. Boy, if we screw this up.
Yeah.
Think if Jimmy Carter would have been reelected for a minute. I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
we could have really screwed up. So it had that. To me, it had that. Now, I was alive in 1980, but I don't remember that election. Yeah. I was 3. But I mean, so I don't know. Well, boy, did I meander on that podcast or what?
Yeah. No, it's good to take a look at, though, because we are balancing, like I said, on the edge of a knife, and it could go either way. Trump brings a lot of promise, but Biden's administration looks like they really want to screw things up for him before he takes office. So which way are we going to go? I don't know.
I don't know, but are we Americans first? I mean,
should be.
How does Biden not go, I just got bitch slapped in this election. People can't wait. People couldn't wait to see him gone a year ago.
Yeah.
I mean, what right do I have to do anything like this? Yeah. That's what I'd be saying to myself. I'd be like, I'd want to leave now. I'd be like, Trump, you can take the oath of office now. Yeah. You can have it. That's what I'd do. I mean, seriously, it's like, I failed. I wouldn't have failed as bad as Biden, though. I can guarantee you that.
Right.
But I'd have just been like, it's yours. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's pretty scary, and I just don't think we're on top of it. I don't think we're on, as a country, I don't think we're aware of how bad this is.
I don't think we are either. We're not hearing about it enough, and it's hard to make an educated decision. Yeah,
and you got to stick to that alternative media. That's the biggest thing I can say.
Yeah,
you stick to Tucker. Him and Glenn Greenwald just did Where I Got 8 podcast on this about 3 days ago.
Huh.
This is where I got the idea kind of for the show. I mean, Glenn Greenwald's smart, a real sharp guy.
Yeah.
And Glenn Beck has done stuff, and Alex Jones and others, but you're really not hearing about it from a lot of the mainstream media. That's scary.
Yes, it
How
is.
does Korean John Pierre go to a press conference not get asked about this?
Yeah.
I mean, Peter Doocy tried, but she just wouldn't answer. But it's just, I don't understand it.
Neither do I.
Well, 2 weeks ago, Jay, we were so optimistic. I still am. I am. but I'm a little more worried. I'll admit that, as you can probably tell. Styling, profiling, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. Jay, end this show, will you?
Yeah, we're going to ride this train out into the sunset and hope for the best, I guess. We don't have a lot to complain about. I mean, really. I mean, yes, there are some very serious issues that we face, but we're not far away from seeing the sunrise, seeing things change for the better. Yeah, there are some things we're going to have to overcome, like 4 stupid rhinos that need to be run out of office on a rail. Okay, hopefully they will come around policy-wise. I don't know if I trust that. That's where they're going to have to put some pressure on these people to conform. But you look at that, you look at the stuff that Biden is doing right now, his administration again. He's probably not doing a whole heck of a lot himself, but we've got to remain optimistic that if we can just make it through the next 2 months, things will turn around, things will get better, that the policies that the American people want to see, that they have clamored for, will actually take root. And so we've got a part to play in that as Americans. We have to speak up. We have to tell our neighbors and our friends and our family what's going on so that they know and they're in the loop and they're educated. But then we also need to take and route all this stuff up from the top down. And, we have seen a shift in the political makeup of our federal government. Now we need to take it to the states and the counties and the cities and the school districts. We need good lawyers to stand up and run for county attorneys and run for judgeships. Our judicial system is so messed up, and you have Walz appointing judges, and those judges continuing on in quote unquote service to spread these woke ideas. We have to look at things a little bit differently than we have in the past. We have an opportunity to change things, and it starts now. We cannot sit and wait for another 4 years to pass by and then hope and pray we get a conservative president again, and that we don't want a president overreaching into our state, into our communities. They have a very strict set of responsibilities, and that's not. We don't want to give anyone in government more power than they are authorized to have. We are the barrier against that. So what do? It has come time for us to stand up and sacrifice. And we've got to run for these state rep, these state senator seats. We've got a chance to flip this thing in a couple of years. But we've got to run, and we've got to inform people. We need citizen journalists to watch what's going on in their area and be willing to write about it either on a blog or talk about it in a podcast, so that the people in your area are well aware of things like, in Grand Rapids, one of the leaders of the Democrat Party apparently hit somebody last July with their car and killed them. And we're just finding out about this now. And all of this was going on up there, but nobody was reporting on it. And Walz and whoever still went and campaigned with these people. we need citizen journalists that are willing to tell this story now. And so we will stand, but we need you to stand with us. We need you to join forces with us. We have to do what's right. We cannot lift our foot off the gas. So think about that. Think about the chances that we have if we're able to register more voters, if we're able to get early voting, if we're able to find people that are willing to put conservative principles into practice, but do it in a way that is inclusive, not the way the Democrats do it, where it's just DEI and doesn't make any sense, but where we are able to make them understand why this way of life is better, why it benefits them, why they end up with more money in their pocket, why they end up with a freer life. Then it's incumbent upon us to do it. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.
Driven to push on, to fight, to strive. It's that spark that makes